क्लीं कैवल्य 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 क्लीं कैवल्य
Welcome. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. Welcome to the Kaivalya Marga. As always, thank you very much for being part of my journey, allowing me to share my perspectives and the lessons that I have learned, the experiences that I've had with you all. We are still on the OMs, the 21 OMs, which begins the day in Prashanti Nilayam, in the ashram of my Sadguru Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Every morning we used to chant the OMs 21 times for many, many, many years. And that has continued with our lives, both Maya and mine, because she also lived in the ashram for about 13 years, from her 8th grade till she worked in the super specialty hospital after her graduation. So it has a profound influence in our lives. And so in the last few classes, we have been, the very beginning of the Kaivalya Marga, if you will, we have been dedicating our time and effort in learning and understanding, touching the periphery of what this Om is all about. How can we bring it into a practice? And the method that I've been suggesting is what I have followed. There are many ways to do this Om chanting. But this is how I liked it. This kind of blended in my path of yoga. And therefore, this is how I am sharing it with you all. Now, in the last few classes, we had covered the chakras and the 5 elements of the chakras. So let's see where we were at that point. We were at the Vishuddha Chakra. And in case you're just bumping into this class for the very first time, please go back to the first class and begin from there. It really sets, I'm being guided to build this whole Marga from the first class onwards. So I would earnestly request you all, for those of you who are just picking up this class at random, to go back to Kaivalya Marga 1. If you like what you hear here, go back and then you will be able to connect the dots, if you will. Anyway, having said that, for those of us who have been regular, been watching this, we are at this position here, the Vishuddha Chakra. Vishuddha Chakra is a region of the throat. Just to go back a couple of slides, if you look down here, you will see the region of the throat is what we determine the Vishuddha Chakra is. And then this chakra, we meditated upon the element of sound. Why? Because the vocal cords are here. So sound comes. And sound happens when there is space, right? So we meditated on the sense, the element of sound and ether. And then the organ that was associated with that was the ears. You begin to hear. Now it's incidentally rather, and it's very interesting to note that I believe when the child is born, the first sense that comes is the sense of hearing. His eyes still take time to focus, but the hearing begins to happen. The first organ that comes into play, sense organ, is the ear. And so when they say creation began with space, there is a link. You see, there is a link between sense of sound and ear. So the life itself in a child's consciousness begins with a sense of hearing. And then at the very last organ to leave is, the very last one to leave is, give me 1 second, Maya sent some message. Okay. She says my chair is creaking. I need to oil it. All right. The very last sound to leave in the time of death is the hearing. So even if a person is in coma and even if he's in that, it is believed that at some level he is able to hear, he or she is able to hear, even if they are not visibly conscious, if you will. The hearing is still there, and at a very deep level they begin to perceive what you're speaking, at least at the vibrational level. When my mother was in the last few moments of her death, she was visiting us in Cleveland in 2013, and suddenly she got a heart attack. She was 80, and so we admitted to hospital. One thing led to the other, and we find ourselves in that room alone, and she is in her last moments. And I had a choice, either to sit and cry or to give her the farewell. When she was 70, I made a CD called the Shivoham, a song of Nirvana Shatakam, which is there on our website and all. It was an amateur homemade thing many years ago, 2001, 2002, I guess. Anyway, the point here was, I realized that the essence of sound is so important, though, even though she was heavily sedated and she was sinking fast, and they had pulled of all the machines to let her pass peacefully. They were kind enough to vacate the ICU, close the ICU, just give Maya and I the time with my mother. It was an amazing moment. And I held her hand and I sang the Nirvana Shatakam, because I wanted to reach into her soul and remind who she really was and help her pass into another dimension. Why am I saying this? Because hearing is very important. From the beginning till the very end, the first to come and the last to go is a sense of hearing. From space, everything happens in ether and everything merges back into space and goes beyond. Space is not the end of it all, but that's where we begin to understand creation, and it merges back into our consciousness. In other words, these awakened state, deep sleep and dream state that we talk about, all comes in this first 5. Why? Because the 5 elements are in these 5 chakras. So it's very fascinating to understand the sense of sound. Smarana. That is why in the ancient traditions, in the ancient schools, when they would go to Patha, we discuss about the word Patha in study or recitation, Pathashala, school. We discussed in Chalisa, and the Chalisa satsangs in the nights. We discussed it there, but the essence of that, what I'm trying to say here is, they wanted you to continuously listen and learn, because they knew that was the strength you came with. That was the first organ that came into play. And when you consistently listen and begin to memorize purely by listening, the capability of the brain is fantastic. So mindful listening in itself is a great art, which you must learn to cultivate. Not get distracted by anything else. Just listen. And in that listening, you will understand the tone, the energy, the everything. There is a whole world going on, even in a normal conversation such as this. Things which I cannot even consciously design. It comes from deep inside. And those are the things I get to perceive when I listen to my own talk later. Those are the things that we talk about as non-verbal communication that takes place. So what you listen verbally is one part, but listening is a lot more. So we will explore the sound again when we go back to the elements and explore each of them in detail. This first level, if you will, the introduction into elements and chakras, is just to give you an idea of the link between the centers of consciousness in our body, the elements that are predominant in these centers, and the sense organ, the primary sense organ that is linked to these centers. And then we go to the Agnya Chakra. Now, before we go to the Agnya Chakra, there are 5 more sense organs that I want to touch upon at this point. So let me see how we can do that. Best just to go back to my drawing board here and to write it for you. So you have the first chakra. I'm just going to make it 5, okay? So let's say, I need a pen. Okay. Let me draw a table, if you will. Okay. And I'm going to draw. So we will call this Chakra 1, which is Mooladhara. We know this. Oops. Let's not do this. I'm not very good at it. Okay. Anyway, this is Mooladhara. Then here you have earth as the element. Correct? You have earth as the element. There you go. There you go. I can add columns. Alright, earth as the element. And right here. Okay. Anyway, you get an idea what I'm saying. So earth as the element. And we figured that here nose was the first one sense organ. So this is called Jnana Indriyas. We'll come to that in a bit. Okay? And then the other sense organ, the Karma Indriyas. So this is organ of perception. Let's call this perception. Give me 1 second. Like I said, I'm not very good at it, but I have to learn how to do this. So alright. 1, earth, E-A-R-T-H, earth. Then you have nose. And then importantly here, the other one is the anus. So these are organs of action. Let's call them action. And these are organs of perception. Okay? Perception, action. This part of my handwriting here. Okay. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? Organs of action and perception. So, organs of action are physical organs in your body that are primarily designed to do a certain action. Or senses, that's called senses of action. Karma indriyas. Karma is action, right? Karma indriyas or karmendriyas. Karmendriyas, indriyas are senses. Why they are called indriyas and all, we'll explore it as we go along. But now understand that there is karmendriyas, 5 of them, linked to each of the elements. They are organs of action. And then you have jnana indriyas, jnana, knowledge, perception. You're able to perceive. Those perceptions are there in the brain centers, right? So they are called jnana indriyas. Jnanas are senses of perception. Indriyas are senses. Senses of perception, jnana indriyas. Karma indriyas, senses of action. So now that we have established that, let's go back to the drawing board. And this is important for us to know. Okay? And so, let's see. Okay. So we have the sense, the earth. Then you have the second one, which is water. Here it is the tongue, right? And here it is the sex organ. The sex organ. And then the third one, is fire. Correct? And then what do you have here? You have eyes. We did this part here, right? We did the Manipuraka, fire, eyes, we have come this part. But I have not introduced you to the sense of action because they don't necessarily fit into the Omkar chanting at this point. You don't need that for the Omkar chanting. But I want to introduce you to this because this is going to form the basis of our future lessons. So you have eyes and the sense of action here, surprisingly, is feet. We'll explain the logic and all of this as we go along. Right now, like I said, just understand this. Just memorize these and we'll establish the connection. Then you have the wind element. You have the sense of touch or skin. And here you have, because you have feet, you have hands. Wind element. 5, the last one, is space.
There's an echo, like a double sound only when you're doing this.
When I'm writing here?
Yeah.
Oh, there's double sound. I don't know.
It's like a resound.
Okay.
It's clear when it's just only when you're doing this.
Maybe if I look down, that's happening. I don't know. Let's see. Let me finish this and then we'll revise it. Just keep your eyes on the board at this point. Ears, and mouth. All right. So let's see if the is the echo still there? Let's see. Okay. So maybe when I look down, there's some kind of echo. I don't know. Let's see. Hopefully, it's not there. So if you're looking at the board right now, the whiteboard on your screen, we are talking of the 5 chakras, the 5 elements, and you have the 10 senses. When they talk of 10 senses, like Ravana had the 10 heads, Sita was caught, she was a victim of the 10 senses. So that is what it is. This 10 senses that we talk of in Vedanta, in Upanishads, in yoga, and all of this are these 10 senses. 5 senses of perception, 5 senses of action. Okay? So at this point, let us just hold this thought, because in all these temples that I visited, I've explained this more in detail. We'll see those videos in the future classes and see how was anus related to the sense of earth. It's very evident there. Smell. What is the organ that smells the most and passes fecal matter, solid matter, is the anus. So anus is the earth element. Like this, you can establish connections. So as a homework, for example, just think about these connections between the physical organs, anus, sexual organ, the feet, the hands, and the mouth. Why are they linked to this particular element? What is the logic behind it? How can we say, aha, that's why it is linked, correct? For example, feet. Why is feet linked with fire? So think about it and see what you come up with. And as we go along and as we explore these elements in more in detail, you will be able to link them. Okay. So having said that, let me come back to this. All right. So this is very important for us to know that there is a link between the elements and our sense organ. That is how we are connected. So it is not just some vague abstract philosophy that we have to adopt, or it's a matter of faith or belief. As we go in this marga, you will understand how these wise people, the ancient sages, showed us that how we are linked. How is this connection there? And how, in understanding this connection, and why they brought in the concept of sense control, and why did they do that? Not for some religious reasons, saying that you're going to commit a sin and good and bad. No, it is to go back to your understanding who you are. We have to get into this path, and we'll explain all of that. How it made sense to me, I'm going to explain to you, so that it will appear very systematic, very logical, and you will see the connection in all of this. So until now we had 3 of them. We had the chakra, we had the element, and we had the sense of perception. Now we added one more, the sense of action, that you see here in the screen. You have the sense of action here. Okay, there. You see this down here. You see the sense of action. So earth, nose, anus; water, tongue, sex organ; fire, eyes and feet; wind, skin and hands; space, ears and mouth. So make a note of this, and like I said, for homework, think about it, because we're going to go back to the first element and begin understanding in each of, there are these beautiful temples of Shiva, the 5 temples of Shiva. Panchabhuta Stalangal, it is called. Stalangal is sthala is place. Stalangal, they say in Tamil. 5 bhutas, the temples of the 5 bhutas. It is perhaps in these temples that the ancient sages discovered these elements and then dedicated a Shiva Linga, which is simply a symbol of the cosmos right there, and said, we will worship this element here. So it's very fascinating, very, very fascinating how there was a completely different approach to understanding what is going on here, understanding what is going on inside with the awareness that we are connected in the cosmos. That is what makes it truly a holistic practice. See, people ask me, you did alternative medicine, so can we come to you for... I stopped practicing alternative medicine. I never really practiced. I studied it just because I was very curious. But then it doesn't even make sense to me, because now you're taking pills again made of plants and calling it alternative. You're again swapping pills and some, maybe a massage here and there, some acupressure here and there. Again, you are seeing yourself as an isolated being from the universe, and then you're trying to fix and put off fires through a different way. But you're only putting off the fire. You're not looking at how to prevent this in the long run. How did it even happen in the first place, and so on and so forth. So to me, I lost interest. I said, no, there has to be the true holistic approach is only the spiritual approach. When I say spiritual, not religious, spiritual approach, the yogic approach, where there is body, mind and spirit, and you have to understand the whole thing. Then you are doing full justice. And this Each one of us have access to this kind of education. And once you are aware, you can cure your own illnesses or imbalances in the body, adopting a very holistic approach to life. But for the time being, of course, if you want to put off the fire, you have to put off the fire. So modern medicine helps a great deal in putting off the fire, but they don't talk about how to prevent one. So this kind of understanding is what helps us grow in that respect. Okay, so we were at this chakra. In that connection, we came to the Vishuddha chakra, the sense of sound and ears. Now, what happens after that? Above this chakra, in the Om, as you chant the Om, you see what happens in the first thing in the morning when you chant the Om, you're just becoming aware of all these states. Don't analyze too much when you chant the Om. Simply chant with that, meditating on that. Some of these may not make sense. So I have had questions, should I think of the earth? Should I think of this? Should I think of that? Don't think too much. Take a symbol of what earth could mean to you, meditate on that. Because the Om will end very soon. Just simple, just to understand, opening up the doors, if you will, of awareness. So when we go above this again, don't start thinking too much. What does this mean? Because these are all very abstract concepts. But because they are abstract, how do you approach them? You have to have some beginning step, right? So you just begin to take a word which is symbolic of that particular experience, and just whatever it means to you at that point, just go into that meaning and make peace with it. Make peace and enjoy the Om. Then a greater meaning will come. You'll constantly be redefining each of these, and your understanding will only go on getting improved. So be very patient. That's why I said in the very first video, a lot of patience and perseverance is required. What happens in our because of our modern education, and that's nothing wrong with it, it's actually a good thing. We want to grasp things right away. And if it doesn't make sense, we get very perturbed. We're like, no, I didn't get it. Come on, explain better. Come on, get there. I want to do this. But in spirituality, it doesn't work like that. Because you're trying to get something very abstract beyond the senses and trying to explain it to the mind. How do you explain it to the mind? How do I explain it to myself? In a language. Again, language is again limited. Then I look for sensual experiences to confirm that. But senses cannot go there. So what do? Meditation. But what is meditation? So you get caught into this. How do you train yourself to go to the abstract? That is why when you understand these elements, each one becomes the subtler than the other. The earth is very solid. You can touch, you can feel. Water also you can touch and feel, but you can't smell. Fire, you can perhaps touch, but you can't feel it. I'm saying perhaps touches, don't go touching a fire. Of course you can feel it on the skin immediately, right? But you can't smell, you can't taste fire, right? Wind, you can feel the sense of touch. Of course it is connected to the sense of touch, but you can't see it, you can't taste it. When it comes to the sense of sound, you can neither touch, you can neither see, you can neither feel, but you can only hear. So each one becomes more subtler, more lighter, if you will. Earth is heavy, sound is very light. Sound just travels in space in all directions, correct? So when you meditate on these elements itself, you're training your mind to meditate on subtler things without telling your mind, now let us practice something subtle. That is why for meditation, for generally a spiritual path, if you take up an exercise, and I strongly suggest this, take up an exercise where you memorize by listening, not by words. You don't need a chart and a table. Memorize by listening. And then after listening, go back and dive into that. Wait, I listened carefully. There must be that. What was that word he used for that? What was that? And keep meditating, keep thinking. You might get a headache, you might get very tired. But suddenly, maybe the next morning, you might say, aha, that was it. Yes, I got it now. It's like sometimes a song gets stuck in your head. You don't know where the next line comes. And then when you're not focusing on it, suddenly it comes and presents itself. And then you feel so happy. Now I got that line, I got that word, or I got that person's name, all of this. This is what you do when you tap into that memory. In this case, you go a step further, you listen and you memorize. A good way is to do memorize with chants like that. Listen to a simple chant. Don't take very complicated ones. Very, very, very simple ones. And then find out exactly how they are chanting. Try and memorize that chant. Okay? So what happens there is you're training your mind to why are we doing this? To training our mind to focus on one of the most subtle elements, the most subtle element, sound, ether, space. When you begin to do that, then going above this chakra becomes easier. That is why in the ninefold path of devotion in the Sanatana Dharma, they have the ninefold path in the devotion. What kinds of devotion? The first one is Shravanam. First is Shravana. Shravana means listening. Listening. So when they say listening, you listen to the glory of the Lord, you listen to bhajans, you listen. But that listening is not, oh, I'm driving, I'm listening, I'm doing Shravana. That is partly right. This is mindful listening. The ability to listen with complete attention and mindfulness. So that's why I said take a small exercise, a small little part of your time. That exercise is far better than you trying to meditate. Because you could be trying this for the next 40 years. But if you begin this exercise, then the quality of your meditation will be very, very, very good. Okay? So consider that. Try to memorize something by listening. By listening. That is the important part. You should have no visuals there, and you should be able to produce the sound or the letter or the chant exactly as you heard. This is a great exercise for children to develop their mental capabilities and ability. I was very bad in my studies when I joined Baba's college in my 12th grade and 11th grade. I was very bad. I was barely getting C grades. The moment I joined, things changed. The very first year, I started shooting up. I got what they call it first class and A grades and O grades, and it just went on it. I never looked back. Only because unknowing, I didn't know this, but we began to listen to Swami, to Baba's words with great mindfulness, because he would rarely speak, right? So every time he spoke, we would listen, and then I would contemplate on what I heard, and unknowingly, I was able to open up a lot of energy from my brain. Just simple. This is simple medicine. Medical science. I'm talking about. Perhaps the gray matter became more thicker for me, and I was able to hold things in memory. I was able to. My cognition skills improved. My comprehension skills improved. My talents improved, and everything. Suddenly, I could draw. I could sing. I could write. I could do a lot of stuff. This is the beauty of that. It comes with the magic of listening. Just ask yourself today in our education, we don't listen, right? We need books to read. We get homework. We have to either write or read. We need pictures and all of that today. Learning without that becomes very difficult, almost impossible for us. We have simply stopped that ability completely. But in the ancient system of education, that was the most important way of learning, Shravana. That is why the Vedas are called Shrutis. That which you hear, that which you hear, that which you hear. So I'm not talking of just playful listening, mindful listening. It really helps. Allow the sound to enter your brain, form those neural paths. And you can visualize in your mind's eye what that sound means to you, because you will have to get some vision to manifest that sound. And that's okay. But don't rely on a picture to create a memory pattern in your brain. Keep that practice. It will really help you, really help children a lot. So, having said that, let us go to the Agnya Chakra. Above this, there are no elements. Above the fifth element, there is no element here. There is no sense organs here. You are transcending the sense organs. You're transcending the elements. This is where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. The mind ceases in this place and the spirit opens up here. This is what Adi Shankara calls Paramahamsa Gatim Turiyam. Turiya Avastha is here and above. This is Turiya Avastha, this is the dot in the Om. If you want it very simple, this is that crescent. This is the crescent. Whether you put Vibhuti like this or like this, whether you put a Namam like this is the crescent of the Om, right here. Up till here is all the other states of the Om. So when you are going from here to here, in addition to between every Om, you are transcending all that is there. But now the practice itself is lifting you, is going. It's like here you're watching television shows of what Iceland looks like, let's say. Okay, oh, it's so beautiful, and oh, lovely. I watch these shows, I watch the serial, and every time I watch different serials, I really get the picture of what Iceland looks like. But here now, you're actually taking the plane and going into Iceland. I just used Iceland, I don't know why, but anyway. So something which you only seen and thought, here you're actually entering it. Again, it will appear as imagination at this point, and it's okay. But understand that beyond this, there are no elements. This has nothing to do with how healthy you are, how young you are, how old you are, and all of that. This is transcending your completely, your awakened state, deep sleep state, Surya Avastha, and all. The awakened state, dream state, deep sleep state, to transcend that from here. So the mind begins to stop. Here itself, mind has reached its zenith. Why? Because creativity comes. I told you in the last class, we talk about creativity. Not in the last class was FAQs, but the one before that. Creativity, poetry, painting, dancing, singing, where you're thinking out of the box. All of that happens here. This is where you get visions, powerful dreams, all of that when Vishuddha Chakra opens up. This is where you get vivid dreams. If you think Baba is coming into your dream and you see gods and goddesses in your dream or any vivid dream, this is the chakra that opens up. This is where all that happens. Beyond this is pure experience. So in the last 6 Oms, you're transcending the senses. You're transcending the mind. Okay? So the first Om there again is locating where is this? Where is this? So we are now in the 16th Om. Space between the eyebrows. That is Bru, Madhya. Bru is eyebrows. The brow. Bru. It came from the word Bru. So you see a lot of Sanskrit words have translated itself over the thousands of years into Latin, Greek, and eventually English, I guess. Anyway, Bru, Madhya. Madhya is middle. Middle, Madhya. Again, Madhya. Bru Madhya is right here. Now this is only a pointer. This is only a skin, right? This is only a pointer. I made a reference to the pineal gland. So a couple of inches straight behind this third eye, behind these 2 eyes, right in the middle is the pineal gland, which is from the roof of the mouth. It goes straight up and you can connect it here. So when we study the chakras, we will again in detail. We are not touching the chakras in detail. We are just mentioning these and opening these doors of thinking and thought. I know there are a lot of questions about chakras at this point, but we are not going into detail about chakras. It's too early to jump into that. First, let's understand the elements and all of that. Chakras are just vibrational energy patterns that are activating these elements. First, let's understand that. Then chakra itself, the knowledge of chakra will come by itself. So don't worry about that at this point. Don't get too confused about what is it, I can't still feel it and all of that. Just know at this point in this Om, just know that there is, now I am going into the space between my eyebrows. Do I have to stare in between like this? You don't have to, because if you're not practiced, if you're too young, especially if you have children at 7 and 8 and 9 years, what happens, the muscles are very weak. So you don't want them to do this all the time. They'll get headache. They might even get squint, because you don't know when all they keep practicing. They'll be alone and trying to do this. So don't encourage this, okay, with children. So just keep your eyes closed gently or focus on the tip of your nose. But your thought should be there. The thought should be there. Where? An inch inside of the third eye, right above the roof of the palate. Space between the eyebrows. So that's where you meditate on the 16th Om. Then you come to the next Om. Now that you have established where it is, when I say established, just you have understood where it is, then you focus, that place is just filled with brilliance. There are energies associated with this in the form of colors. We'll discuss all this, like I said, later on. And it's not the popular colors you think. It is not the rainbow colors. It's certainly not. I've heard this from Baba himself. It's certainly not the rainbow colors. But we'll come to that. So I won't confuse you with that now. So as you come up here there is just pure brilliance. Brilliance. No colors at this point. In other words, there is here, well, if you want to talk of a color here, it's pure white. If you want to think of brilliance, because when I say brilliance, and that's why I thought of color, and I have to mention, because in your visualization, what will you visualize at? Not golden light, it's pure white light. Brilliance is just brilliance, flashing brilliance, like lightning. You see the lightning? You can't look at it, right? Because it's so bright, even if it's for a fraction of a second, you'll be like, oh wow, what was that? Correct? But it is pure white. That pure white is that brilliance. The brilliance of a diamond, if you will. It's brilliant. Right? That is that brilliance you're meditating about. Just brilliance. What does that mean? Is it enlightenment? Don't think. Just focus on brilliance in that Om. In that Om, you should just focus on brilliance. Having established with the previous Om the place, next Om, brilliance, 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 brilliance. Let it shine. Expand your imagination with what brilliance means to you. Brilliance, how much more brilliant you can imagine, right? What is brilliance? So that is that. So that is the next chakra, brilliance. And then comes Satya, truth. See, someday when we study the Sankhya philosophy, why do we have to study the Sankhya philosophy? Because that forms the basis of Yoga Sutras. And I will give the Advaitic interpretation to that, the non-dualistic interpretation, though Sankhya is predominantly considered a dual philosophy. Anyway, sorry to bring in all that. But when you understand that, you will understand that beyond the brilliance came from an energy source. Because that brilliance is not the source. The brilliance is the effect. Now you go to the cause. The truth. Satya, Satyam, Satyam, Satyam. So this truth here is absolute truth. The truth that doesn't change. The Ananda that is infinite. Brahmanandam. Brahmanandam. At this point there is Brahmanandam. Brahmandam, Brahmanandam is infinite joy. That joy has no limitation. There is no opposite to that at all. It's absolute state. Brahmanandam. Paramasukhadam. Kevalam. Jnanamurtim. Dvandva atitam. All the dvandas happen here. In other words, all the dualities happen here. This is beyond duality. Now you're entering this beyond duality. Dvandva atitam. Gagana sadrisham, as infinite as the sky. Tattvam asyadi lakshyam. Here there's only goal is tattvam asi, that thou art. That is the truth, right? That thou art. The truth. Tattvam asyadi lakshyam. Ekam nityam vimalam achalam. Sarvadhi sakshi bhutam. The witness of everything. From here, from the Turiya Avastha, the eye begins to witness all the happenings in the lower chakras and all of these realities that is manifesting with the combination of the consciousness in all these chakras. All of this is happening from here. Sarvadhi sakshi bhutam. Sakshi is witness, witnessing everything. Bhava atitam, triguna rahitam, Sadgurum Tam Namami. The divine Guru sits here. The divine teacher. We will explore this chant on Guru Purnima. But when you are learning this chant, for example, this is something you can learn by listening. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvam Asyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. The divine teacher of truth resides here. It is to that Guru that I offer my prostrations. It is that Guru that manifests in the names and forms when the time comes. That consciousness there is not limited inside your head or my head. Here you begin to go beyond. That is the beauty when you transcend the senses. You're going beyond space. Imagine space itself is infinite. Beyond space. So there are no boundaries now, right? No boundaries of time, no boundaries of space, nothing. And in that you're experiencing brilliance and truth. I am sharing these thoughts only to help you, give you an idea of what you can contemplate when you go there. So you don't have to remember this mantra when you're chanting the Om. It will be a distraction. But in that divine, just say this is the divine truth, the absolute truth. And if it doesn't make sense to you, Jan, for many months this is what I did. When I reached and I said this should be the place of truth, then I prayed to Baba, I prayed to the universe. I said, open my wisdom, open that door, show me the truth. And so in that Om, I would incur this prayer, help me see the truth, help me visualize and experience the truth, show me the truth. So that could be your attitude if it becomes too abstract, rather than thinking, because at that point when you're doing 16th, 17th and the 18th Om, you just don't want to think much. You are going one after the other into a deep state of meditation. So there, just if it doesn't make sense, truth, show me truth. And open your mind to receiving. And you may not receive things consciously, but know that when you open your mind to the universe, I use the word mind very loosely here because mind is stopped here already. But here you're opening the spirit to learning, connecting with the mothership, if you will. You're connecting with the universe, intelligence. You're making that connection. God's hand is touching your hand. The Guru is touching you from here. So it's so vital and so important that should happen. Satya, truth. And then comes the Sahasrara. Like I said, these things, the less we speak about, the better. Sahasrara again, let's fix where exactly it's located. It's very easy for me to show you because I have a bald head. So here you have the frontal lobe of the brain, the hard part. And so right in the center, just above, straight above the pineal gland, just as the hard part is ending, there is a Sahasrara. So again, establish that location. Even if it is not clear, it's okay. Nothing is wrong is going to happen. Okay, I've spent years trying to understand what is this, what is that pineal gland, and what is this. Then when you feel that particular centers vibrate, you will know exactly what you're talking about. It will happen with practice. Don't worry, don't look for it. It will all happen, and you'll know, oh, that is a Sahasrara. I've felt it before, so I know where it is. Okay. So you establish where it is. The first Om out of the three is always establishing where it is, then getting into the energy of that place. And then here there is just the one. Meditate on the one that has become the many, the Purusha, from which all of this brilliance has happened, and all of the other gunas and all the elements and all of that came into manifestation. The one. The one. What does the one mean to you? Is it Ishvara? It is Purusha? It is a formless aspect? Whatever it means to you at that point, just let it be. Let it be. You think it is Krishna, let it be Krishna. If you think it's Jesus, let it be Jesus. If you think it's Buddha, let it be Buddha. It doesn't matter at that point. Whatever you make peace with at that moment, just go with that flow and go into that. If you think it is a formless element of consciousness, then merge into that formless element of consciousness. Nothing is higher or lower at that point. But know that you are looking at the one that has become all of this. The one that has become all of this. Ekam sat vipra bahuda badanti. Ekam sat. The truth is one. It has become, or it appears to be, many. So that is the beauty of this. So the one. So that is the second last Om. The one consciousness that has become all of this. The one Nataraja. And for many months and years, I used to meditate as Nataraja. Because the concept, like I explained earlier, the dance of Nataraja cannot be separated from Nataraja, right? That is why Nataraja comes in. The concept is all the five elements. He controls all the five elements. He's got Damaru, he's got fire, he's got wind, he's got the sun, he's got the moon, he's got the entire creation in his body, and he's dancing. In other words, the whole creation is a dance. You and I are in the dance. We are part of a dance. This little remote slide remote, whatever you call this is also in the dance. Everything is dance. So who's the dancer? Is the dancer separate from the dance? No, you can't. Then there won't be a dance, right? The moment he stops dancing, the dancer ceases, the dance ceases. Because he is dancing, you have a dance and a dancer. That is the beauty of that one talent. And therefore, they describe this cosmic element as the dance of Nataraja. The king of dances. Not as a fine art, but as the king of dance. In other words, the dance that is happening all around us. Imagine how beautiful it is. So I would meditate here as that Nataraja. And I would begin with the form, then it will merge into that formless aspect. Because what is this dance you're talking about? All of these elements that I'm looking from here is all manifestations of that dance. The moment this consciousness begins to absorb everything, that means the dance is coming to an end. So who's playing this game? You and I are part of a game. That is the beauty of this. So there is nothing to be afraid of, nothing to lose, nothing to gain. There is no I and me and mine. Nothing. You merge into that dance. Know that you are part of the dancer. And that gives you so much bliss. It lifts your mind up. And that bliss begins to literally flow down. Literally flow down in meditation and in yoga. Once the channels open up, prana opens up. This is why yoga becomes a very beautiful path. You begin to bathe in that mercy, in that grace, if you will. The words fail. It changes your life, changes the way you look at life, changes everything. All limitations, fear slowly begin to cease. So there you meditate on the one. And lastly, become the Om, or rather be the Om. Just merge into that one. Cease. So Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, he says the yogis, when they die, they chant the Om. This is the Om he's talking about. Going back to where creation began as a vibration. See, the Om we are chanting, we are saying it's a sound and all of that. But it's a symbol to represent that everything, the creation that we understand from here, began with a vibration. So Om represents that. So you merge from that Om into the silence beyond the Om. The Bindu. So the last three Oms, you locate it in the Sahasrara. The second last Om, you meditate on the Bindu, the dot from which everything came. It could be a Shivalinga, it could be Nataraja, it could be Sai Baba, it could be Krishna, Rama, if you want. You might think, but there should be no name and form. No, there's no rule like that. We still need a symbol to even experience, but go beyond that. Don't think it is just that. Because if you think it is Krishna, then you say, but Krishna died, he passed away, so is he limited? No, not that way. Krishna reminds you of a cosmic power. Same with Sai Baba, same with Buddha, Jesus, Allah, and all of this. Whatever symbol you need in that, the one, the Bindu, and then you become the Bindu. Just merge, lose yourself into the Bindu. 21st moment. It's a very powerful practice. A practice that takes months and years to understand and to begin to enjoy. Because at first you go through so many series of, you forget which one was what, and then you forget where you were in the Om, and you need help to remember it, and so on. All of that you have to cross. And then you begin to enjoy the journey with each Om. You just keep going. It is after such practices, then you take only 7 Oms, and each Om you just go straight into the very essence of all of these 3 merges into one Om. You don't chant 7 Oms initially. And I say that with caution, because for me it took a while to make that 21 Oms into 7 Oms. In other words, in one Om, I could understand where the Mooladhara was, what the Mooladhara represented, what are the sense organs around it, and what is the earth element. That one Om I was enjoying and completely being surrounded, enveloped by the prana from the earth element. So it takes time, and only you can be the judge if you can do that. But until then, go with each one mindfully exploring at each level. It becomes a very delightful, and that itself is meditation, if you ask me. You don't need to have a separate meditation practice other than this. This becomes a very powerful Omkar. The Omkar practice or the Omkara sadhana is a very ancient sadhana. It is not taught by anyone these days because everybody thinks of a quick, I don't know what it is. Anyway, but the point here is this is not taught to anybody. But if you begin to practice the Oms, you will be invoking the Supreme Guru. The grace of the highest wisdom will begin to come to you directly. It will come to you directly in such a manner that when you read a book or a sloka, you will get it. You'll say, yes, I got this. I know this. I know the meaning. This is what it is. Oh my gosh. This is linked to this. This is linked to this. And I can use it in my meditation. Suddenly you will see that connecting dots in not just one book to another, one sloka to another. You will see the connecting dots in your life. You will see why certain persons are in your life, why certain people are away from your life, why certain events happen in your life. You will see the connecting dots. Automatically you will say, aha, this is what it is. And then you won't be living in that fear of, I don't know what to do, what is going to happen next. You will learn to go into this rhythm. That's why in Shavasana we talk of going into this cosmic rhythms. Your consciousness learns to expand when you meditate on the last 6 Oms. You don't have time to practice the Om chanting. I have a recorded version of the 21 Oms somewhere. I will pass it on to you. And we will touch upon this, round up what we learned, and do a practice on a Friday class, the next Friday class. And then the following week we'll go back and examine the earth element. Examine that in detail at each of these divine temples that I visited. And we will invoke the energy of this mighty Shiva. I call it the Shiva Consciousness. For me, that's what it makes sense. Whatever makes sense to you, that is fine. However you want to call it. So for me, it is the ultimate thing. Everything merges into the Shiva Consciousness, into the Supreme Consciousness, into Shiva. And therefore, in these temples that were dedicated to him, these portals that were discovered thousands and thousands of years ago, and every king who came kept building these portals into temples. So they are very huge temples now. Okay, I mean, when I say now, it's still a couple of thousand years old, but those portals existed for many, many, many centuries before that. These are the temples visited by ancient siddhas and saints. So they are very powerful places. So I went there, got that energy, and when you watch it, you will also bathe in that energy. And we learn about these elements, at least set the basis in those temples, from those temples. Let's learn, let's invoke the energy of Shiva and begin this path to Kaivalya. Like I said, this is the lifelong learning. And while it satisfies your intellectual curiosity, I urge you to take some of this and begin to practice. Even though it may seem very abstract and difficult, begin to bring it into your practice. Begin the chants of Om. Begin it and watch your life changing. Watch everything from deep inside begins to change. It's fascinating, truly fascinating. As always, I want to thank you all for your patience. And of course, the last three Shantis we explained, I think, the last time itself in the class. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti is simply understood as body, mind, and spirit. But also at this level, the awakened state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, beyond all of this. Let all of these states of mind be at peace. From that supreme state, you're saying, let everything, the entire creation and all of the three gunas. When we understand the Sankhya, I'll explain to you how these three Shantis has a whole different perspective. That your entire creation, instead of understanding as states, has got a different flavor to it. So, anyway, whatever the three Shantis make sense to you, from that state, bless. You are the one who becomes to bless now. Because in that Om, you become the Om. And from there, there's only blessings that flows through you. Only grace flows through you. Only compassion and unconditional love. Because there is only you. Such is the beauty of our ancient wisdom, of the Sanatana Dharma. I think it's time to go home. Let's go home. Let's walk each other home, as Ram Das said. Let's walk each other home. Thank you. We'll bring this class to an end with one Om and three Shantis.